Hello, this is Javier, author of Crushing Cancer, available on Amazon.com. If you like my videos and want to keep up with me on what I'm doing and how I'm doing and how I've beat stage 4 kidney cancer for over 4.5 years, like you heard my story before, my prognosis is pretty grim. One doctor, 3 to 6 months, another one, 1 to 2 years if I was lucky, and here I am going on 5 years. And it's been a bumpy road up and down, and I've learned a lot. And like I said before, I did it through extensive reading and research and my chemical engineering background. I was able to develop a protocol. But today I wanted to do a little bit of a deeper dive. We hear about cancer being talked about as a genetic disease because of genetic mutation. And to me, it kind of didn't make sense from the perspective of cancer. It's our own cells that are mutated. And if cancer survives, in surviving, it actually kills us, the host organism, and also the cancer itself. So from a biological survival perspective, it didn't make sense to me, because one of the primary purposes of life is to continue through either itself living or reproduction. And cancer, in living, it kills the host and then kills itself. So it didn't make sense to me until I mentioned before, I read this book, which I thought was pretty awesome. That's kind of when the light bulb went off, as cancer as a metabolic disease. Is it a metabolic disease? Very interesting read and theory. And then that's what started making sense to me. And what do I mean by that? Well, from a metabolic disease, the microenvironment in our body changes, and it causes the cancer cells to become inefficient. And what do I mean by that? Regular cells produce energy units called ATPs, and through oxidative phosphorylation, oxygen, right, aerobically, it produces 36 ATPs from a glucose molecule. Cancer, on the other hand, it only produces about 6 ATPs anaerobically without oxygen from a glucose molecule. So it's very inefficient. And to me, it was like nature doesn't go toward inefficiency. It doesn't like that. Why would it do that? And then that's kind of when the light bulb went off, because it thinks it can. And what do I mean by that? If you look at the standard American diet, all these refined carbs, which turn into sugar. And also, if you look at all our labels, look at all our foods. Take a look at them. You have glucose in one form of another in there, right? High fructose corn syrup or just sugar. Why? Because it has addictive properties and it sells more and you consume more. So cancer has an insatiable appetite for sugar because of the uncontrolled reproduction, right? Cancer just reproduces uncontrollably, and it needs that energy in the form of glucose, to the point where solid tumors have 15 times the glucose receptors that normal cells have. And that's like, wow, that's when it really kicked in. So knowing this and viewing it from this standpoint, what did I do? Well, number one, I went to a keto, plant-based diet, cruciferous, because the cruciferous family, like I mentioned that before, has some sulforaphanes, anti-cancer properties, and it being keto, spinach, kale, cauliflower, cabbage, and so forth. You can read about it. There's a list of those foods in my book. And so you cut off the fuel supply, you cut off the sugar. And another thing that I do is fasting, because fasting also lowers my blood sugar. My blood sugar is normally in the 80s, right? And that's why I go on extended fast. And not only does fasting, lower my blood sugar, because they're water fast, by the way, and not only does it lower the blood sugar, after 16 hours of fasting, not only does my sugar keep dropping, but it goes into a process called autophagy. What is autophagy? Well, autophagy is where the body when it doesn't have any energy coming in and it looks around and says, hey, I don't have any energy coming in. What can I look at to get rid of? So for the sake of the organism, the whole organism surviving. And it looks at, I believe, cancer cells, which are damaged. So it gets rid of them and recycles the organelles for the sake of the organism surviving. And another few things that I wrote down that fasting does, like I said, it lowers blood sugar, which I believe is very helpful. And also, another thing that I do while fasting, exercise, cardio. I think that's critical. I've talked about cardio. What does cardio do? Burns up sugar, lowers blood sugar. But another interesting thing that cardio does also, it increases the oxygen in the blood. Again, cancer doesn't like oxygen, right? Because it has an anaerobic process for making energy. So my belief is by doing this cardio, we're looking to switch back to oxidative phosphorylation to make energy. So using oxygen, which is more efficient. And if you're doing exercise, the body's like, hey man, I can't afford to be inefficient. I'm burning all this energy. I need to go back to being efficient. And I believe that's where epigenetics play a role, right? The body's incredible. I mean, there's so much that we don't know about it, and it's incredibly adaptive. And I believe we have to use these tools and believe in our body's inherent wisdom. You know, there's a section in my book, if you read it, like 200,000 years ago when modern man first appeared, it's not like you woke up, you went to the fridge, or ordered on your phone, had a pizza delivered. None of that existed. Food, getting food was hard work. You know, you woke up hungry, you had to go out and look for it. There wasn't fridges or anything like that. So acquiring food was energy intensive. And on top of that, the food was as organic can get, right? I've talked about this before, food being single ingredient items. Like for me, you know, cauliflower. Cauliflower is cauliflower. There's nothing else than cauliflower but cauliflower. As opposed to if you look at some of these things that we eat nowadays, you need a chemistry degree just to read the label. So, I mean, that's my belief on why fasting is critical in flipping that switch back and also triggering some of these biological processes to help battle cancer. If you want to read more about it, like I said, there's a whole host of things that I've done to stay alive. And the other day, my blood O2 was 99, you know, on the little oximeter that you put on your finger, which is pretty cool. So yeah, you know, I'm doing these things in the hopes of flipping that switch back and making my body more efficient and getting rid of the cancer. And my last scan showed regression all around. So that was good, right? And I'm still in the fight, and things are going well, relatively speaking, you know, especially from the grim prognosis. I really appreciate you all. Hopefully you find some good tips. Please hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, and now TikTok, where you could keep up with me, see how I'm doing, and also some tips that necessarily aren't in the book and that I help maybe tie together on why lifestyle is so important. Again, really appreciate your time. I hope these things help. And if you're not battling cancer, I think some of these things would help you even become healthier. All right, you take care. Appreciate you.